And here we just have this bit of an engagement going on with the Shermans and the riflemen versus the two Panzers. Panzers fighting a sort of losing battle right now, and one has lost, the other has lost as well. So very heavy losses for the Axis right now. Um, I know we keep on going about the Ostwind and the Panther, but I mean they would help so much more. The Panther has more health; it would obviously be alive for longer. It wouldn't be penetrated as much either. And the Ostwinds, if they were flanking from the sides away from the M10s, they would do such a good job at taking out the riflemen. It's unfortunate that we can't see that though.
And you know, to a certain extent, it's one of those key pieces to an army. When you continually bring out a multi-purpose unit, but what you need is one thing specialized towards one side or the other, that's going to ultimately hinder your ability to cope with the things that the enemy is throwing at you. And right now, what you have is M10s and rifles with Shreks that you gave them. And so, you know, it's obviously going to be kind of touchy, but you know, you can't really fault Shaman too much at this point because the VPs are in his favor. It has been working. It's been a very slow process and it's been a very long process, but it does seem to actually, you know, be effective to a certain extent. It just needs some tweaking at this moment in the game and less of that tunnel vision.
When it comes to, if you were going to recover, right? Say if somebody was asking me this question, if you were going to try and recover as the Axis player and push the Americans off the field, if you're going to try and recover, you definitely need to diversify your units. You know, just constantly going for Panzers is not going to do the job. If we're going to talk about extremes, so say for example you go all out Pioneers. Obviously, Pioneers, they'll be good at capping and stuff, but they can't do anything anti-tank related. Now, say if you're going to go out for all tanks, then you don't have capping power. So you got to diversify. You got to have this mixture of units. And without revealing too much, I'm sure you guys will definitely enjoy the second replay that me and Ryan are going to be casting, the number 2 replay. Now, that is going to be an extreme case of diversity. It's no way in shape, or it's no way in form a bad way of playing the game. Diversity can be very good, and people should not be afraid. You know, Panzers aren't the only way to win this game.
It's a kitchen sink replay, it really is, and it is a fantastic game. But to get back to talking about this game, you know, one of the things that I think we really need to talk about is less about what Shaman is doing wrong and more about what Pepsi did right against, you know, I mean, because you figure at this point, he's taken out, I don't know, 7 to 8 tanks, however many tanks. I got 4 tank kills on 1 rifle squad. I got 2 on an M10.
It's a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot, and he's handled a massive armor push over and over and over again fairly well.
And I think that's sort of my fault, you know, that we keep on saying stuff about Shaman. Just coming from a Wehrmacht's perspective, like I absolutely love playing the Wehrmacht. But if we're gonna commend, you know, Pepsi, he's obviously playing very, very well at countering all these Panzers, at countering all the MGs, all the infantry on the field. He definitely has very solid control and very good unit preservation for these riflemen. Absolutely want to praise him for that. Having 3 veteran C3 riflemen on the field is absolutely stupendous. You don't usually see that in a game. So very well done to Pepsi for being able to do that. Also just keeping his tanks alive. I know in engagements, M10s are not the strongest tanks whatsoever. They're very easy to die, but he's been overall doing quite a good job at keeping them alive and just taking out the Panzers, so I'd also like to commend him for that.
Yeah, he hasn't really been doing, you know, the M10s have very decent penetration, particularly in comparison to the Hellcats in 2.601. In the beta, the Hellcats are kind of, the playing fields equalized a little bit, but the M10s in retail currently have much better penetration against the Panzer IVs. They do a great job, so you don't have to worry necessarily about having to circle strafe those Panzer IVs. And by not having to do that and not doing it, he's actually been able to keep himself from overextending those M10s and being able to keep them alive.
He's just been doing a very good job in just unit preservation. That's one of the key things. Like, if you're going to win a game, you gotta keep your units alive because a lot of new players, they think, oh, okay, I'm gonna send my guys out and attack. Oh, they're down to 2 men out of their 5 squad or something like that. They're gonna die anyway. There's no point in retreating them. No, that's not the way to go about it. You gotta retreat and save these resources because in the long run, you guys will know that in the long run, resources is what wins you the game.
An interesting note, do you see that MG near the high fuel? It's actually reinforcing from that repair bunker from all the way out there.
And that is what we call... Well, I know there's this one thing called cap walking. If you guys are interested in that, then go on gamereplays.org and find out about cap walking. That's just basically extending your units out when you're, capping strategic points. But funnily enough, you can also do that apparently when reinforcing. When it comes to the specifics about that, I couldn't exactly tell you 100% how to do it, but it involves a amount of click maneuvers.
Indeed it does. Now, one of the things that you notice is that we have a wire box around the victory point over here on the left with no pyos to speak of on the field. Shaman really doesn't have an answer for that.
What he really needs is pyos to cut it. That's one of the good things about infantry doctrine. I mean, your riflemen are going to get those sort of capabilities they wouldn't have otherwise, to lay down wire and stuff like that. So, I mean, if they can do that, then well done. And here we go, just a little howitzer shoot.
Now we have...
And this is a long game, guys. If you guys look at the little meter, that's an hour and a minute so far. So pretty much, it's just been...
Have you ever played a game this long?
In one of my previous replays, I think I mentioned I played a 3-hour long game.
Yeah. At that point, you're looking at bathroom breaks. Like, you've got logistics to think about.
You're thinking about, like, feeding your kid or something, if you've got a family. This becomes quite too long. Fortunately, that 3-hour long game that I played was years ago now, and I was totally ready for it. But that was 3 years ago, and looking back on it, I'm pretty sure I could have cut it a lot shorter. But you learn things over time. But anyway, back to this replay.
We have 200 points left.
The points are ticking down, it looks like. So Pepsi has actually recovered 2 of the victory points, so he's got 2 victory points. So he's at 48 points. The Axis is counting down at 196 right now.
Now, I'm surprised with the... because we do have infantry company chosen by the Americans. I'm surprised we haven't seen off-map combat groups. Obviously those are, for the manpower costs, highly efficient. I don't know what his pop gap situation is, though, either right now.
He has 45 out of 63. So he definitely has enough to get an off-map.
Yeah, because, at that point, you can get anything between, M10s, AT guns, and mortars, and, random things. Yes, it can be random, but in general, you always get more manpower than you spend.
That's right. I remember in Coho there used off-map combat group was absolutely insane for about you could upgrade it about 700 manpower. You got three rifleman squads, about 3 engineer squads, possibly a sniper or an HMG with that. So it's absolutely crazy. Off-map combat group is obviously not as good as that, but yeah, it gives you a mixture of stuff: tanks, infantry. Would be nice to see.
Yeah, And I don't really, once again, I don't really have anything truly bad to say because he's done a good job of doing the best that he can to keep his units alive and to maintain, against a relatively overwhelming kind of
I mean,
force.
if we just look at the battlefield right now, it's just a bunch of carcasses of tanks. There's a whole bunch of stuff that wasn't here before. There's lots of craters. It's just been wave after wave, just pushing at each other, artillery and everything, just trying to push each other off the map. Both teams are very, very stubborn. They don't want to move, but it looks like there's a sense of a tiredness sort of going around. You know, there's a lot of tanks that are destroyed. The armies are quite weak. They're not at the peak of their abilities right now.
No, and I think at this point they're just you're either trying to wear the other player out and wait for another mistake. Um, Pepsi obviously doesn't know how much in the way Shaman has as far as packs or anything sitting in the back protecting this VP. But he's gonna probably want to go find out here eventually.
But when we're talking about Shaman, Shaman really does not know what kind of force Pepsi has. I mean, Pepsi's force is just pretty much kept at the back of the map right now. He's got 2 M10s and a Sherman, not even doing anything. He's just letting his infantry do the fight right now.
Surprisingly enough, that Vet 1 Volt squad did pretty well against the Vet 3 rifles.
Could have been just a lucky day, maybe. They're trying to go in for a kill right now. And they're doing alright, not bad. Especially since they were in green cover, supposedly. But then again, that green cover is directional, so... And here we go. Obviously, Pepsi realizes that the Axis are quite weighed down from those infantry attacks right now, so he's moving in his tanks, probably trying to go in for the last kill, just trying to finish this off at last. So he's bringing his M10, his M4 Sherman in first, and now here we go, his M10s, bit of artillery coming down with that as well. Backed into a corner pretty much.
Nowhere to go.
Nowhere to go at all, that's right.
And of course, with the loss of that bunker, I don't even know why you would bring that pack up there at this point. The rifles are coming. But also, to a certain extent, you also know that Shaman knows he's on the back foot.
I definitely don't think that pack is a good suggestion right now, considering that there's riflemen just a few steps away from him. And as you guys can see, just taking a little bit of shots there, that was enough to take a bit, quite a fraction of the pack's health.
Yeah, and that goes back to classic danger Vet 3 rifleman. Run.
So now it's just pretty much about finishing them off. Ryan, do you actually want to try fast forwarding to once? Do you actually want to try fast forwarding, as in by 1 speed? Just to speed this up a little